So you go right ahead.
That's all it takes. That's
No,
all it takes.
yeah, it's just, it's kind of a
Yeah.
broken down, cracked, ugly sign.
New business as well too. Sandra had asked.
Everybody knows how to do that.
Sandra just asked me to speak on this. Adolph Ronsky, you guys
Oh,
have
yes.
the correspondence on that?
Yes, yes. That was, yes, okay.
I wish I
It's
had
delayed.
a photo copy on this, but
Have it. Oh.
I would not suggest that you do that without them having a survey that they know they're on the road allowance, because you definitely don't want them going around.
You don't know
just
what
past that
deviation.
round. So
This is guessing whether road allowance.
exactly. So this number would be
Land.
yes.
So
So he
I
has to have access. He wants access.
I totally understand that, but I have a question. Considering this is on Lake Clear, is a severance even allowed at
Well,
the back at the?
We're at 50% was 57 vehicles, and 85%, the average speed was 69 or 70 kilometers.
Yeah, if
In the
you,
50 though.
Yeah,
Yeah.
50, yeah.
yeah, if you could forward that to
Yeah.
like the STRAC, that'd be really good information.
So that was right at Barb's, right? where it
Especially
says
on
the fair.
right at
shoot
Barb,
too.
So
I
I've
know.
seen more presence there.
what I'll do in the future is I'll just have it forward to all of these and you can delete it or
Yeah.
whichever.
Well, it's good to have.
It's nice to have when people phone us. Much like Brent, I've received phone calls from different people saying, thank you so much for putting the speed sign up. And they do believe it is a deterrent. And it does, Tim just said muscle memory, right? You're driving along, you're in an 80, you're probably doing 90, and you get into the 50, but you're still doing 90. So it's a good wake-up call, especially coming down that hill.
And really, the speed bump's gonna help because by Walter Rosner's, you can't do any more than 60, so.
There's lots of speed bumps.
There's lots of,
it's their own
there's natural speed
natural
bumps
speed bumps, yeah.
occurring in that
The
road.
road does the rock and roll.
Outside Tim's house, he puts one out every night.
That's right. You put a tire spike.
Yeah.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah, no, all,
No, and that's the thing,
I
you
can
make
just
something
forward-
smooth and they go quicker, and if you make it rough, they just, anyway.
Well, and that's been the thing about 512, right? They're going to widen 512, realign 512. We know full well people are going to be driving even faster on 512.
Well, I'm down to 40 there with the load.
I
40K,
Yeah.
I'm
and
sure-
everything
at my
is
house-
still bouncing and shaking. And
at my house.
Yeah, absolutely.
And
Absolutely,
so
yeah.
that the first turn at Whitkey,
Mhm.
but then the second one into Heideman's, which one's worse?
The second one in the
Second one,
item,
okay.
it's everything is, by that time you make sure that all your sippy cups are done up and. Anyway, thanks.
That's terrible.
all right, that's it for me.
I don't thank you.
Yeah, not a
We
problem.
take a
So I'll
break
make sure you guys
Yeah,
can. Have a
absolutely.
tough time with
Merv,
glasses
can we have a
today.
break? for a second?
Yeah, we'll get to those little string things there, Bill.
Problem is I only need them for certain things. right?
And mittens too.
All right, guys.
Bill?
Bill, hang on.
Is this guy off there, Sam?
Sound's working again now.
They had the speed thing set up and going for Lodge Road for a little while. Only one. Nothing here. There you
Yeah.
are. We're
That's
live.
something.
There you go.
I gotta see.
Uh,
Do you have a different sponsor there?
Yeah,
Cause
I
it's
didn't have a
always
whole lot
Mosey
this time, Herb.
Mosby.
Yeah.
I brought the capital reinvestment reserve policy
I
back.
saw that.
There's a resolution attached to that for tonight. And other than that, I've been transitioning everything for Sandra, all the paperwork and all the electronic files, so that she won't miss me when I leave here next week.
Oh, well, everybody will miss you when you leave.
Your tan looks very good though.
Well, maybe not you, I don't know. It remains to be seen. Well, Brian, we wish you the best of luck. For those of you online, this is Brian Martin's last meeting with us. We've already transitioned over. Sandra Barr's nameplate now says CAO, so, you know, be careful what you wish for, Sandra.
Yeah.
And it was my pleasure. Thank you very much for putting together that letter of offer. Did she sign it?
It's on her desk.
It's on her desk. Okay, so she hasn't officially signed, but I did. So as far as I'm concerned, it's a done deal. So Sandra is going to be interim for 6 months with a review on November 1st. And at which time Sandra and I will sit down and she can tell me all the ways that this job is stressing her out. Yeah. The part she loves, the part she doesn't. So thank you, Brian, for your last official meeting. We really appreciate all the amazing years you've given to the township, and you know, we're gonna miss you. So our employer is very lucky. Don't cry, Jack. It's okay.
I'm not crying.
You tear.
He does.
You tear Jack up,
Crying.
Brian.
Yeah.
I need a golf cart.
Teddy
and I
bear.
don't have one.
Yes, yes.
Yeah, he's a crier.
Yeah,
I just have to meet between here and Herb for golf, Jack.
that's
all.
right.
So
So I
Merv, we
guess-
might as well move on to correspondence.
Yeah, I was gonna say, just we're gonna do, move on to correspondence. Yeah. Anyway. Anybody have anything they want to talk about, Lang?
Yes, there are quite a few in correspondence B that need to be taken care of.
Mhm.
I'm not exactly sure about this resolution for safety on family farms. I haven't
no.
heard any of that here. Perhaps that's in far more agricultural areas. But skipping down to correspondence number 7 is the email I forwarded to council regarding the possible placement of a Health Canada legal marijuana grow-op situated possibly in Floymount.
Yeah.
What this gentleman is looking for is just all he wants at this point. All they want to do is see if Floymount is viable. I'm open to hearing what everybody thinks, and I am happy to send him back our response one way or the other.
Well, first of all, they're growing it up there already. Secondly, if it cleans up some of the buildings and creates employment, why not?
Well, that's why I looked at it, and especially since everything's growing indoors anyways, like, the thing is, if it fixes everything on that hill or makes it look better, then
So the Health Canada rules are extremely stringent. I did a little bit of research in terms of fencing, security, the sheer amount that they're allowed to grow. It's stringent, very stringent rules. So is anybody opposed to letting the gentleman from Delcan?
No, I'm not opposed. Like I said, there's a lot of hoops getting through before.
Oh, and this is strictly a fact-finding mission, as you read in the email. This
Yeah.
isn't a done deal.
If he meets all the legal requirements, I mean,
And that certainly wouldn't be up to us. That's
No.
Health Canada
Yeah,
has
yeah,
their,
as far as it goes, as having a business going and it's legal now, I'm not gonna argue that whatsoever. So if he goes through the guidelines, I'm not gonna oppose anybody starting a business.
and this would be specific to medical marijuana. It wouldn't be a grow up of,
It's not recreational.
it's not recreational, no.
And
So-
somebody wants to see if the municipality's friendly towards it.
Yeah.
And I think that they're probably, it's Agri-Canada, and I think what they're probably doing is putting it out to some of our municipalities where they think they might be able to settle and as you said, Merv, employ.
Mhm.
And so, yeah, and I'm happy to send him back an email just saying, yes, continue with your fact-finding mission, and if we run up against problems, then we'll let you know.
Yeah, like you say, it's probably just looking for suitable locations and
That's,
Good.
yeah,
that's it.
it was just an initial
Yeah.
touch
Well,
base,
see if we
right?
actually support it.
That's right.
That's kind of-
Well, yeah, I think he didn't, knowing that there's probably another one up there that we were never told about.
Yeah.
I do appreciate the fact that he reached out and he wants this to be above board. All right, I will make that happen.
Anyone have anything?
Yeah, I've got tons actually. Sorry, guys. County of Renfrew, Ontario Winter Games.
Winter
Have we ever done anything like this before, Sandra?
No.
Yeah, it's
Not like that.
it's interesting. So right now, what Alistair is looking for is a letter of support.
I would think most of these things, if it occurs, will be occurred down Calabogie Peak.
Yeah, generally it's a good location. But I would say that, yes, we read a letter of support.
Sure.
Can we make that happen? Thank you.
Maple trees been dealt with.
So the municipal accommodation tax, this has been a very contentious issue. I don't believe that in Bonnechere Valley, we have enough accommodate. Now, I do understand that we have a lot of Airbnbs, but I don't think that we have enough to make a decision one way or another on this.
I actually seen the presentation when I took Jenna out to do her speech at North Dakota Wilberforce. I watched the presentation out there actually. And no, I couldn't side with it whatsoever. MAC tax is a tax and I don't like to tax anybody coming into our.
I went through the presentation when I thought they were gonna actually like come to our meeting like several months ago. But I remember it being in like an email or report we had. And no, I wouldn't be for it. It doesn't make sense to me to
No.
tax 4% on it just doesn't make sense. Even the data that they had, it's like there's like 20 polls and this and that. And in this area, I think if people are trying to make a living off of say renting their cottage or Airbnb in town, if they're away for the winter and whatnot, I don't think that we should be taxing people more.
When they presented this to us at the county, I could see where maybe if you had a lot of accommodations and there was competition, but for our rural environment, I just don't see it.
No.
I just don't see it.
The case I think they were using was in a Niagara setting and such too,
Toronto.
It's not here. It's not here, right?
Agreed. Okay, can we bring back the McGrath's concerns about cats for when Steve is back?
Okay, yeah.
Nobody knows?
It's just so an update on that though, Steve did talk to the organization I
Yes.
gave him the information for. So if there is like feral cat, like kittens and stuff, then we just have to notify that organization. They'll try to help us out.
And apparently some have already gone there.
Yes. So I just want to give everyone an
So-
update because I
Oh,
said
good.
last meeting I would and stuff. I've used this organization for some of the tenants in the area as well. So I think it could be a good partnership long term.
Do you
Yes.
send your tenants out to be adopted?
No, not the ones here. But I know just some kittens.
It took Fred a sec to get that, but
No,
Tim
no, I
got it
got
right
it.
away.
I was trying to think of a good reaction. Yeah.
No, I just, I understand that some of them have been removed, have not gone to Ruby, but in fact have been sent to this organization, which I think is wonderful.
Mhm.
So for those, there were two people that were quite upset about the idea of removing them and putting them at Ruby. That has not happened, which is fantastic news. Okay, we did the Renfrew County Legal Clinic. I read with interest the Halton Hills reducing litter and waste in our communities, and I think at some point we're going to have a very serious discussion about that. And KH&R, we are going to support this venture, and EGC is going to pay for it.
We'll have to take a vote on that, I guess.
No, so I would
If
say
we
that
can get a tax deduction.
Yeah.
Receipt
Within
for
our-
10 grand.
Yeah.
within our budget.
I like how he's.
That was
Oh,
good.
he
That
wears-
was, yeah, you were on it, Merv.
He sits in 2 chairs at the same time.
Yeah,
that
exactly,
day.
yeah.
Yes, yes.
But I think that at this point, we find the money in the budget. This is extremely important, as we spoke about at our EGC meeting. And I think we should be thanking KH&R for taking on the staffing and all of the administration that will go along with this proposed amendment. So if we could make that happen, and the letter of support. Thank you, Sandra. And I think that's all I had on.
We did,
The data sign?
Wait, you know what? I'm sorry, I skipped right through it. I had notes on this as well. The city of Stratford, their opposition to changes in 2019. That is something that we've been taking on at the county level, mostly because it affects the paramedic service, long-term care, and our public health unit, which are all county-run with the province as opposed to the local tier. So we can absolutely support this resolution, but it is being taken care of at the county level.
The other thing that I had, Jen, was recommendations for the PPS.
For the provincial policy statement.
Yeah, I'm harping on this again. I would love to see us go back to the wording, have regard for rather than be consistent with.
And I think that's where we were going, Merv, when the county met with Jim McDonald. He's the parliamentary assistant for the Ministry of Municipal Affairs and Housing. And what we were saying was we would like the reading to be may instead of shall.
Mm-hmm.
And that's been a real hardship. And that is something that I know a couple of his incredible staffers are working on right now.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's it for me.
I guess the other thing is, what about this naming of the waterfall in Bonnechere?
I didn't see a big deal.
I don't see any.
I don't think it's in Bonnechere Valley.
No.
I don't. I think it might be in North Alberta Wilberforce.
Yeah.
So,
what do you want to give the falls a name?
yeah, people are gonna call it what they're gonna call it, right?
Yeah.
Like, I mean, Foodland is still Strickland's.
Yeah.
It's not even in the same place or owned by the same person, but it's still Strickland's.
Still Henry.
Just don't put the sign in the wrong spot.
That's right. God help us all. Listen, you weren't on council when it happened at Ruby, and it was a big deal.
Yes,
Yeah.
all Merv's fault.
Talking about talking about what you call it, and I used this one at one time at a different meeting. I said the Township of Bonnechere Valley was created in 2000, January 1, 2000, and now we're into it 19 years. If you talk to anybody, would they say they live in the Township of Bonnechere Valley? No. Say they live in Eganville, Hindford. Nobody will ever tell you they live in the Township of Bonnechere Valley. Like, don't get excited about these things.
Dave and I do because we moved here after amalgamation. So when we bought our farm, we were in Sebastopol, and when we moved here, we were in Bonnechere Valley. It's
Yeah,
just the timing of it.
But did you tell somebody from Toronto asked you where do you live? Did you say Bonnechere Valley?
BBT.
No.
Well, my
No, I
license says
guess
Eganville.
my license says Eganville as
Yeah.
well.
Augsburg.
Augsburg. Hindford, Boyma, Ruby.
Yeah.
Grattan. That's a big one, Grattan.
Yeah.
So that's all I had with my notes on correspondence, but
Yeah.
that was a lot of correspondence.
You bet.
back to Dave, I guess.
He's here.
Just 1 second now. Number 11 in correspondence A, are we going to support that?
What's that?
Oh, the compensation to victims?
Yes,
Does she just want a letter of support?
yes,
Yeah, I'm fine with that.
yes. I will think we
Yeah.
should,
It's, okay, so I'll just explain A and B.
Mhm.
Correspondence A is generally the stuff that doesn't need a response.
Right.
It's for information.
Yep.
And then correspondence B is things that we should be responding to.
I think
And
so.
so I didn't get fully what the ask was, and I think that's why it's in A.
Okay, yeah, I think
Okay.
it's just for a little bit of support. I
Yeah.
looked at the
I have no problem with that.
The number 10 that's passed to do the deadline because we only had look at received
Right.
it on the 5th, so. But if that's okay with everybody to support
I,
that, for sure.
after what we saw, yes,
Yes, oh, for sure.
yes.
Sandra will look after.
We'll
it.
always be flood buddies, Tim.
Oh, for sure.
Did you want a letter
Yeah.
or do you want a resolution?
A resolution, please. Because then it will go across Renfrew. Let's send it to Renfrew County. And I would say FCM. Because that, if it goes through FCM, it will make it to Graydon Smith's area and Gravenhurst. And I'm sure it's something that they will want spoken about as well. The other flood areas.
Merv's
It's
the man.
Merv's meeting.
You're on.
It's Merv's meeting. Yeah.
Okay, so, our call rate, we added a few to that since the last time, so we will be well past our call rate from last year.
What's going on?
We're at 44 now. So, you know, it's one of those things, right? We're continuing to see a lot of false alarms around it. Not so much, and well, we have had some NBCs, but other being hydro line, trees on hydro lines, the storms coming through and false alarms and whatnot from businesses and homes. So, you know, it is what it is. You know.
I did see the other day the sign on 512, the no fire, or the,
Total fire
Total
ban.
fire.
Yes, and that's not from us.
okay, I was just gonna ask, do we have
No.
any of those
No,
signs?
we're
to
looking
go out?
into that. The bag signs, just like it's
Yeah.
a bag sign.
Yeah,
goes
if you'd
on
like
top
to
of it.
sign and especially around our lakes where everybody flocks to.
Yeah,
every
we
long
talked
weekend
about
at
that in
weekend.
last fall, actually.
Yeah,
So I thought that was our sign as well.
I thought
And
so too when I
So
seen
when I
it.
got home, I said, hey, that's a great sign. And Dave
Yeah.
said, we didn't do it, but
No,
okay.
it's,
no. So I think it's a call or a campground maybe that's along the lake there on their way to it. But no, we're looking into that right now to get some. Make
I
sure
think
we
it's
have it in
important.
stock, for sure. When we go around and change our signs, we can pop those into the ground as we go along.
Well, it's and then at least nobody has the, the response, oh, I didn't know about it. Well, you would have had to have drove past it, in order
Right.
to get to your destination.
Yeah.
It's one of those things where I've heard them say they didn't hear or see it on the electronic sign out front, and they didn't see the big wand over, and and they didn't hear it on every radio station. So it's one of those things where if we, and yeah, for less than $5 a sign, we could almost do every
I think it's,
spot going out of our municipality.
It's
for
worthwhile.
25
Points of
bucks,
interest.
Yeah.
Mad Valley had a great problem the last one, as you know. And if you went along there, the highway from Willow to Barry's Bay, about every 2 kilometers, they got them right along the highway.
and they probably had the biggest problem, far larger than ours.
The last time.
Yeah.
Well, if it prevents a fire, like especially, fires are very expensive, right? So
And I
we
think
need preventative works.
we can do all the signage, and our prevention people can go out to the campsites. And, I think the campsite owners have been very, very easy to deal with. But you are always going to get that one person that comes up that has rented a cottage that isn't thinking about a fire ban at all. What they're thinking of is, I want to get to this cottage, I want to enjoy the week with my family, and we're going to roast marshmallows.
Yeah.
So I think it's absolutely those bag signs, great investment,
Yeah.
but you are still going to run up against some problems when you're in a total fire ban.
Sorry.
Oh, I was just gonna say, but at least we have the ammo in our defense saying, look, at you were pre-warned when Dave does say, look at, and you know.
Yeah.
That's one thing that at least we're doing our part into informing everybody.
So when we go to a ban situation, I do contact the lake association presidents or chairs or whatever. They send an email blast out to all of the residents, both lakes. The campground owners actually this year, on my advice, did their own level 2 before the township did, because they were afraid of the campers, their own campers, causing a forest fire. So both, I believe it was Lampion and Whispering Pines, both put total bans on. I said, it's private property, do what you want, and they banned the campers from burning, so, which is good, proactive.
Well, and I think knowing that we've had 2 forest fires in Renfrew County in the last week, that's scary. And if I was a cottager, I lived on, beside a rental, I would be concerned. So Greater Madawaska and Laurentian Valley both had.
Greater Madawaska's had a couple,
Oh, really? Okay.
and they've had them on Crown where people have gone in and campfires and they've got away on them.
Oh,
Yeah.
I've been into that location before, and that's a tough trail. You're talking the one in at Wapping Lake
Yes,
there.
yeah.
That's a tough trail to get into. And it's not ironic, the thing is, once you cross the river, you're in North Frontenac there, and there's no fire ban on it at all. So it's all open.
Really?
Yeah, so North Frontenac, there's nothing right now, so.
see, that makes it very
It
confusing
does,
too.
like it's within meters, right, from
Yeah.
across the lake, there's no fire ban.
Well, and this is a challenge with Golden Lake, because you've got the 3 municipalities and Pequawkanagan. And so you could ostensibly have a neighbor, like one road over, that's in a different township that isn't in the total fire ban.
That's right.
Yeah, but I'm on Facebook with both, and immediately there's a fire ban from Don, a fire ban from Golden Lake.
What about KHR?
Anyways, your
I
bag
don't know.
signs are the same size as Jack the Buster campaign signs. I know there's some wires.
So just buy the bags, don't buy the
Yeah, don't
wires.
buy the
The
wires.
wires are expensive.
And that's the problem that this weather situation kind of creeps up, and you're hoping that, you're going to get precipitation and whatnot, and then all of a sudden it's, you're forced to put a ban on and get the word out, right? So I'll never put a level 2 on a Friday, right? It's always, I try to do it early to midweek, to make sure that everything happens on the township website, sign here, all of our social media and everything, so that by the weekend it's well known.
Yeah.
So it's tough to get the word out here. It's not like the city where communication is,
24-hour news network.
yeah, so it's hard.
Oh.
Another thing I want to talk about as well, going along with this ban and burners, I did go to the courthouse in Pembroke and get Part 1 Provincial Offences Act tickets. All of our people that are assistants to the fire marshal are also offenses officers, provincial offenses officers. So I have what I'm doing with them right now is we're given 30 days to issue a ticket. So we're going to the call if it's an illegal burn or whatnot, assessing the whole entire situation, and if we feel it warrants it, then they get one, and we issued one this weekend. But because of the 30 days, it allows us to sort of make sure that it's what we want to do, right? Unfortunately, you can't educate people that don't care. So that's where I'm leaning towards. If it's somebody that's flagrantly disobeying the bylaw, then they're going to get taken.
Yeah.
Right. No ifs, ands, or buts. So it's a tool for the toolbox. Like I've always said that I'd rather educate first, but the tickets as well are going to aid in our inspection efforts as well. So we go into places homes that have 0 smoke alarms, which we've been in before. That is just that kind of ignorance you can't stand for. There's no educating that, So we're gonna work it so that it's, you know, it's fair for us being able to maybe recoup a little bit of our time, but you know, we have to send a message, you know, that you know, we're serious, and the law and the Ontario law is serious with regards to building, or sorry, a fire code and smoke alarm and CO alarms as well. So, you know, we're not by any stretch going crazy, because that's not our nature here, but we need that enforcement tool, you know, to help. So, another thing as well, we're going to look into a drone program next year. I have somebody on staff already that's an advanced pilot, and he can submit flight plans and stuff like that. So I have one person that's available. I've also enrolled 2 other people in the fire college course to be able to be drone pilots as well. Not advanced. The course doesn't offer advanced, but it offers the, you know, the opens the door for them to be able to do that. Excuse me. So we're going to look into, through Caleb, who's the guy that has that. He's bought like actual industrial drones before, so not all that expensive. So we're considering that, looking at that for next budget year during budget deliberations to see what kind of expense and if it would help us. And I think we've been in quite a few situations that some aerial eyes would have helped us a
Would have
lot.
been nice.
Bushfires, for one, sometimes house fires.
So I think this is fantastic. And as everybody knows, we have a drone at the County of Renfrew, and it has been instrumental in helping in so many different emergencies, including September 22nd. I mean, it has been one of the most useful tools. So would you consider speaking to Chief Nolan and find out, I believe it's a German company that we use, and what they've done is they just, as new technology comes out, they send it to us. The County of Renfrew paramedics are the only paramedic service in Canada that can fly outside their sight line. So our pilots are really advanced, and they don't let me use it anymore.
But we were told after the fact that, yes, I was watching you the whole time when we
Yes,
were out boating around. So.
yes. So Tim and I were, I'm going to tell the story.
Tell the story.
Because it's funny,
It
right?
is.
It's not funny because we were in the middle of a flood, but Tim and myself and MP Gallant and MPP Yakubuski were put in a flat bottom boat and taken out on the Ottawa River and down a road that wasn't a road anymore. You could only see about this much of the 911 signs, which means that the water was about 4 feet deep. And it was kind of a scary ride. I'm not going, were you a little fearful? Yes. And so when we got back, I said, well, because it's a flat bottom boat, right? And we were motoring. And our chief paramedic said, that's why I flew the drone over you the entire time, just to make sure. Because when we got out, MPP Yakubuski said, wouldn't that have been great? The MP, the MPP, and the warden of the county all die in a flood. Like, that's just not good. But they had us under surveillance, but they used that drone extensively through the flooding. And I mean, they've used it in fires, they've used it in accidents. It's having eyes in the air is a really, really useful tool. But I would contact Chief Nolan just to see if there's a way, you know, maybe this is not a shared service, but is there any way that we can get on to that program of upgraded equipment? Because it's certainly been a help.
And I imagine just something for future thought, I'm sure the county upgrades theirs quite frequently, and it's not quite probably wore out when
We send them back.
Oh, okay.
So that's.
Because I know when they were doing forestry stuff, there were always demos that certain foresters were getting as
But that's sort of where
a
I was
discounted
going.
rate, so to speak.
So it's sort of like the paramedic response units that we bought, that the chief bought from the county to turn into fire response units. is this another? thing that we-
Yes,
Right?
yeah, exactly.
Like,
The hand-me-down kind of thing, and we're not that proud.
We're not,
We'll
no.
take that.
look, the paramedic drone can actually drop medication. It can drop a defibrillator. It can drop blood pressure cuffs. Like
Even in
It's-
risky areas out on ice or something, right?
Yeah,
You could
because
use
we-
it For sure.
because we can fly outside of our sight line.
Mhm.
And we're the only ones. It's really, when we were doing our position papers on the province amalgamating our 52 paramedic services into 10, in that book I left for everybody, that's one of the stats. And I don't know if you saw, but you know what, I'm off track because that was going to be my county of Renfrew update. But I just thought because Dave's here,
Yep.
but the Ottawa Citizen actually did a 4-part series on our paramedic service, and then the editor did a full editorial about the unbelievable things that we do here in the county of Renfrew that aren't done in other areas, such as our paramedicine units. So it's pretty incredible. But yeah, I totally support a drone if it keeps you guys out of harm's way. If there's a chemical spill, a chemical fire, if you're trying to find people, I think it's an excellent idea.
Yep.
And you'd be surprised how much ours is used at the county. Not just for Tim and I not drowning in the Ottawa River.
Yeah, I'll talk to Mike.
But you had orange life jackets to make the bodies easier to find.
We did have life jackets.
Bob around.
We did. No, once we got on, Cheryl said safety first.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I got it adjusted by not having mine on quick enough.
Did you?
No, yeah. Get that life
No,
jacket on, Tim.
I was okay on the road, but when we got out onto the Ottawa and you
Oh, yeah.
realized how deep,
It dropped off quick.
that was scary.
And then it's all the other things in the water.
I
too,
know,
right?
like the mattress that we almost hit
Yes,
and the barbecue,
yes, yeah, a lot of debris,
propane tanks,
contamination.
contamination.
So the pancake breakfast was this past weekend.
Hmm.
275 people through,
That's
which I
amazing.
thought was very good.
Excellent.
You know, it was
Yeah.
very busy. So that was a good fundraiser for the association. This week, we're doing interviews for a junior officer position. One came up, and got a couple of people that are interested in stepping into that role. So we're gonna do interviews this week, see what happens, try and keep this succession planning moving forward. You know, which I've always tried to do in the last few years. I'm not sure. I just wanted to quickly go over a couple of communiques, and I think maybe AMO may have sent out this information before. Community risk assessments. I'm not sure if anybody's read about that at all, but there is a regulation that came into effect on July 1st that we have departments and municipalities are to have community risk assessments done. By now, the date is up to July 1st, 2024 now. So they've kicked it down the road 5 years to give us some time to develop a program, and there will be a template for it. I don't think it would be in a small municipality that big of a deal for us to do, but we have 5 years to get it done. So,
If I may, this just again flies in the face of the promises of less red tape and less regulation. What does a community risk assessment even mean? And I did see the AMO blast, but I don't know what is your role in this?
we do our own anyway. Like all departments know where their risks are, even if they're not on paper or not on a template sent to the province. We do our own anyway, internalize them. And, you know, I don't understand. I don't know if it's for stats or what it is. They want to identify maybe it's through emergency management as well, want to identify hotspots around the province or, you know, places that we could have issues. I'm not sure exactly why they want us to do that.
And I think that's why I'm asking the question, because I think it behooves us to ask the Solicitor General, Sylvia Jones, why? Why do you want this? Why do you want the community safety and well-being plan? Why are we changing things that don't need to be changed? Again, in a large urban department, sure, I could see where you want to know where your risks are. You know, high rises and elevators and that kind of thing. But in small municipalities, I just, again, don't get it. I don't get it.
Well, the issue is we can't complain about not being treated equal and then say we don't want to do something that big city does, right?
I
So
guess.
we have to pick and choose, I think, the battles that we fight. You know, if this business is the same across the board, then everything should be the same across the board.
But it's
When it
not the
comes to
same across the
reporting.
board when you guys are not full-time and you do not get paid the same rates
Yeah.
as a full-time fire department.
Except for that little thing.
Yeah, I'm just saying that there have to be some concessions for being a small rural fire department. And quite frankly, if they want you guys to be equal, as in your training, then perhaps it's time for the province to figure out how to fund our fire departments. Or partially, I didn't even fund them, partially fund them.
I would say if the reason that, you know, we've got the 5 years to do that is probably part of that equation.
I have no doubt that AMO is on it.
They understand that we have our challenges,
Mhm.
so.
How much of workload would you suspect this to be, Dave, to do this?
I haven't seen the template yet,
Okay.
but I will, for here, it's not gonna be, I don't think it'll be too bad. You know, well, we do have infrastructure here, a township that doesn't is
Gonna be more
it's gonna be
work.
no brainer, right? Yeah, but it will be a little bit of work, but I don't think it'll be too bad. There was another one as well, I'm not sure if you've seen, the amendments to the Fire Protection and Prevention Act.
Yep.
So they're pushing, it's Bill 100, protect what matters most. So the 30 days that I talked about being able to issue a Part 1 ticket for POA, they want to extend that to a year. So it's just like if you're getting a ticket from a police officer, 51 weeks later, they can come and give you the ticket for something you did a year ago, right? So and I think this is because of the inspections, and especially when you involve the fire marshal's office, if it's a nursing home or if it's a long care term or long care facility, grow ops, that kind of stuff, they want to give the appropriate amount of time for an investigation and you to pull in all the resources you need. Sometimes 30 days isn't long enough for that. So I applaud that, you know, allowing for us to do that. They're expanding the cost recovery provisions. So when we close a building, whether it be a nursing home or something like, for example, Fairfields, it's allowing us to cover costs required. If the township's out of pocket for putting somebody up somewhere, then we can recover the costs to the owner of the building. And increasing the maximum fines for most of the offenses in the FPPA. So that's to come as well. So they did do that a couple of years ago. They bumped up almost everything $100. So we're looking at another increase as well, if this passes.
But the challenge is too, if you don't increase them marginally every couple of years, then all of a sudden you get to that state where you're, 5 years behind, and you have to raise them exponentially, and that's.
In 2015, they changed a smoke alarm infraction from 195 to 295, right? Which made it, after court costs or victim surcharge and court costs, made it like a $360 ticket for one smoke alarm not being installed.
Mhm.
So, yeah. So that's all I have.
Thanks, Chief.
Questions?
No questions.
Hopefully some more rain.
Yeah. Oh, that's another thing I want to talk about as well. 11:30 this morning, I got my first phone call. Was the fire ban off? And because it's starting to rain, and I said no. It'll be a while, I believe. We need some accumulation of precipitation. One rainstorm's not dropping the ban.
Just as an example, where I'm hauling, I'm turning around and it's getting across the ground. It's like flour on top of the ground. And there was a big enough downpour last week where there was puddles.
Mm.
Okay, so there was puddles all over the place. If you took your foot like an hour after that rain and kicked anywhere on the landing at all, but half an inch, it was just that same powder that was there. So it's not doing anything unless we have a week of rain. It's
Yeah,
not gonna
and heat.
do any saturation
But it's the-
whatsoever. right?
This rain this morning, though, that was torrential. That doesn't help anything. Like, I was hydroplaning on 512. I just slow right down for all the
Right
water.
down to 80.
Yeah.
Slow right down to 80.
With the level two,
Yeah.
generally when we put a level two on, it's because we haven't had rain in a couple of weeks and hot temperatures and wind. If you look at a lot of fields right now, pasture fields, big fields, they're brown.
Yeah.
So the way I look at it, on a level two, I treat it like spring, right? So once I start to see green coming back up, then that's when we drop it could take a week to do that, or a few days to do that. But we need to see some of that green undergrowth come back up to
Yeah.
help mitigate the dry
Too much-
3 foot long dead grass and
Too much
fields.
tender. Yeah.
All right,
Thank you, sir.
thank
Thanks,
you.
Dave.
Perfect. Thanks,
Thanks,
Dave.
Dave.
County update, or have you?
Yeah,
Hey,
well,
we're
that was
given-
yes, thank you, Bert. That was sort of my update. I will tell you that at the AMO conference, I have delegations with, sorry, I should have written this down, guys. The Eastern Ontario Warden's Caucus does have a meeting with the government and with the NDP on the Sunday. I have a delegation with Parliamentary Assistant Gill on Monday. We've got delegations with Dr. Fullerton, who's the Minister of Long-Term Care now. And Mayor Sweet and I have a meeting with Laurie Scott, who's the Minister of Infrastructure, to discuss County Road 51. So I'm sure to be very busy at AMO, and we'll have lots of stuff to come back to. I'm not exactly sure how many plenary sessions I'm going to make it to. My schedule is all over the map. Eastern Ontario Warden's Caucus does take a lot of time, and we will be at this point. Renfrew County is ready. We've done our data mining as far as savings in paramedics, long-term care, our arguments about how to keep them. And we are waiting on the other 12. They're in the process right now of doing the same thing, so that we can sort of say to the government, you rolled this out, you didn't have a plan, you asked us to have a plan. So these are the reasons that we could do this, but perhaps not this. So I think our meeting on Sunday is sure to be extremely lively, and a lot of good discussion amongst the 13 of us. But as I always say, if we're facing this, then every other county or local tier with paramedics, long-term care, and public health, we're all, and the Ontario health teams, we're all going through it. So it's up to us to come up with some ideas for partnerships that I'm very hopeful about. I'm actually really looking forward to this particular conference.
That's this weekend, you said?
No, it's the 18th, 19th, 20th, and 21st. My anniversary. Dave, you guys take him out for a beer.
Okay,
Thanks, Mark.
peer review of boardwalk.
We did that with Bill.
Okay. Capital policy.
It's a resolution for tonight.
Mm-hmm.
Data sign in the municipal office.
Okay, so what Sandra is looking for is some direction here. Everyone read that apparently they don't like the Electrical Safety Authority doesn't like our extension cord and wants it hardwired. And it's about 1,100, is that what you said? Yeah. Okay. But what Sandra doesn't want to do is, if we're not going to replace the sign because it is getting to that age, she doesn't want to waste the money putting in the $1,100 port, hardwire.
Yeah.
The only thing is, if we get the wiring there and then we decide to later replace the sign, well, then our wiring is already existing, right?
Yeah, so that's what she's looking for direction on.
I-
Are we going to replace the sign or are we not going to replace the sign is the question.
How bad is the sign?
It's been acting up.
Yeah.
Took Dana half a day last week to change the message on it. She would
So-
keep going out.
We need more generic messages.
So is it software issues with the sign that haven't been updated? Is it just the age of the sign?
It's 8 years old and it's just at that age where it's starting to deteriorate. It's just not functioning properly. Sometimes the sign just shuts off. Sometimes the sign doesn't receive the radio transmission that's sent to it. It's getting old.
It's really useful. I think it is anyway. I don't,
I think if we replace it, I'd like to see a bigger sign,
yeah,
like something like they have on the reserve, you can really read it easily.
can you ever? And the one going into Pembroke at KI, that thing's amazing.
No, it's gonna be big.
Yeah.
Dana's gonna bring prices for next year's budget.
Okay, but
For now,
we have 30 days to replace this or turn it off. I mean, replace the cord or turn it off.
Yeah.
All right, so feelings?
Well, the bottom line is if it's not accurately working, why fix the cord? If we're gonna think of getting a bigger sign, power might be in the right location.
So just unplug it for now?
Well, if it's, that's, if we can't get it to work properly, what's the point in it? No, that's my,
But
Is it gonna last another, say, 6 months?
it has been working though. Like I've been paying attention to it every time I drove by and I can see it quite well.
And it is working.
And it is working.
yep, she got it eventually.
It was just like
What is
reboot? Reboot. Okay.
How often are you rebooting it anyways?
When she needs to change the message.
How,
So-
how
so-
just for, just because I'm new, how often do we like change the message on it? Is it like weekly, monthly, or,
Yeah, but we,
oh, okay.
so yeah, there was old stuff on it.
Yes, there
And
was.
she had programmed it all,
Yeah.
but it wouldn't,
wouldn't receive it.
till she rebooted it and rebooted it.
Could this be because we're using an extension cord?
I wondered that too. I wondered that too.
I think if it's getting power, it's getting power.
Yeah, that wouldn't be, it'd be more, does it make a difference? I can't troubleshoot without looking at it, but it could, when you're transmitting stuff remotely, it has to do with what you're transmitting it from, if you're, does it work better in one location or not? It's, that's what I don't understand, but anyway,
I don't know, the software's on her computer.
yeah, but I'm just saying.
But is it her computer that's the issue or is it the sign?
She's got the newest computer in the office, so.
Yeah,
Okay.
So it's
But,
8-year sign.
well, I guess if you can get it to work, then we may as well put the power in. And then we
Piece-
can
Then
always,
would you mind when Dana gets back from vacation, can
To
you
look at it.
troubleshoot it with her?
I might, yeah, I can.
Well,
take a look at it
he's
and
pretty
see.
much, all you're gonna be doing is just putting a conduit line anyways and just stubbing it up. So realistically, if next year's budget, we were to say, do
Bigger,
a
we
sign
can
or a
move it.
bigger sign, you can always
Yeah.
move it, adjust it how you need it. So,
Sure.
but if it works, we might as well have that kind of, it's like a newsletter pretty much.
Yeah.
That's what
It is, and I know that other people appreciate it.
Yeah, especially, I think we put the fire ban on, we update that as well and stuff. So I
Yes.
think
If it's something to enhance public safety,
Yep.
Yeah.
it's something that's worthwhile doing.
Let-
And that's what she was having problems getting it.
Oh, the total fire
From
bill?
the 1 to the 2.
Yeah,
Oh,
and even.
Oh, it wanted a
that's
campfire.
that, that's right, that's right, it wanted those marshmallows.
Wanted a campfire.
All right,
And
so,
they're proposing just putting
A conduit,
and
yeah.
cut the concrete.
perfect. So I think
That's the biggest cost. is to
Yeah.
Go inside the building. Right?
it's no different than when we did the generator line, right, to the generator. They've got to cut in, it's a pain, but I think it's worthwhile sign, but
Yeah, we'll need the power there anyway.
Yeah.
Well, that's what I was saying. And then that this way, if we have the measures from inside the building out, get them to go a little bit more heavy duty, and then, if you get a bigger sign, you're gonna have the amperage out there to run it, so.
Yeah,
I
like
agree.
like the conduit size probably wouldn't change.
I don't
very
think
much
so, not
for it.
LED stuff, it's not
No.
gonna be drawing any more than a
No, it's worthwhile.
couple
Just-
amps,
But I
right?
agree
Just
with
stick it
Merv, the one at Wauknagon is really, really, really easy to read. I find ours a little,
We might not have the budget they do, though.
we might not have the budget they do.
But
Did they
I
just
found
wanna
ours
add
was
that to the equation,
also- I
guys?
found ours also was a little high. Like there's.
Yes. It is.
Perfect. So we'll get her fixed and good to go.
Oh, yeah. I'll go out and hit it with a broom every once in a while, that's what it takes.
4:30. I'll get a bunch of complaints for that.
No, but Dana's back next week.
Yeah.
You wouldn't mind doing
I'll
that?
just see, maybe we can, maybe, a lot of times with this, sometimes it's just finger problems.
Just what?
Finger problems like location, when you're trying to upload like that. But who knows? I don't know the sign of it more than it's
That's about it.
transferred by
That's about
infrared
Any
or by,
question?
infrared or energy, how's it transmitted upload?
So you're gonna be contacted, the first one was about the Tranquility Road issue, so like at the end, you were saying you're gonna contact council,
Yes, I think,
Kirby or
yeah,
council?
whoever I can get in touch with. I really appreciate the fact that Dave is saying, he sent a letter of apology. He realizes he probably shouldn't have done it. I think Merv's right. I think that there was once an agreement in place. So I'd love to see if we can negotiate something with them.
Because the land that we're talking about is actually Pequawknagon.
Yes.
The Tranquility Bay property owners are Bonnechere Valley,
Yes.
Yeah.
right? Okay.
And it's very strange in there, Deb. Like he was talking about Dennis's property and Margaret's property.
Right,
So when we were talking land claim and they brought us the maps, those were two that we sort of said at the time, let's join them to the res because they were sort of landlocked residents. It's sort of an unusual place, but Tranquility Bay shouldn't be. You know what I'm saying?
but that's what they were saying, that Pequawknagon has bought these properties, but the properties are still Bonnechere Valley properties.
Yes.
Right? Yeah.
Yes.
Like they're not annexed or anything.
No.
No.
But that little stretch of land is Pequawknagon, the road allowance, I guess,
Well,
they were using the data.
That's something they were, when the CN deeded over
Right.
to them, and they're using the old rail bed, that's why
Yeah,
it's,
no, I know where the property
Yeah.
is, but that's the thing, like, I guess that's right where it turns to Pequawknagon, right? You know, the
little-
other side of Tranquility Bay. I'll have to go
Yes,
look at it, but
okay.
anyway, but anyway, because I know we received some phone calls about it at the leader as well. And I think people of Pequawknagon are upset as well about the issue. So anyway, but just wanted to follow up that you are gonna be contacting
I will.
Kirby to just see if
If there's some negotiation we can make. I think
for a
when,
safety issue.
it is a safety issue, not only for snowmobilers and ATVers, but also for emergency services. But I think that, I think that we can have a discussion. I certainly think that, Kirby's very easy to deal with, and if he'd like me or one of the other members to go to his council, I'm happy to do so.
Okay, great. So the second thing is the cats. So I guess the cats haven't been moved.
Some of the cats have been moved.
Okay, but not to the,
No, to an adoption place
okay. The
Where
one in
apparently-
Ottawa, or,
where apparently Brent sends his tenants to be adopted.
okay,
Just from some areas.
okay,
It's what the organization is. It's just one in outside of Ottawa pretty much,
Okay.
and you just contact them and they pretty much will neuter and take care of the kittens, and then they'll just send them for adoption.
Okay.
So they just takes it from the area.
so is that what's gonna happen with the cats then?
It's just
or what?
my understanding it's just a temporary kind of like
Okay.
agreement with them. Like if they can accommodate, they will. So
Okay.
it's pretty much on a need basis for the municipality from speaking with Steve the one day anyways.
Mhm.
So it's pretty much just when we actually have, say, cats that are feral, then we can contact them as a resource.
Okay, so that's what's happening with the feral cats right now, is you're dealing with this Ottawa organization. Yeah?
Yeah.
Okay, good, so, then the next thing, the speeding, like you guys are mentioning, the thing with the speeding in Augsburg, and, like, there was a little bit of talk about speed bumps, we're not putting anything like that, there was no decision made about.
No,
speed
it
bumps
was
or anything,
just a
right?
discussion about the new ones in Pickwacknagun.
Right, and just the, I guess, to have the cops be aware of,
Well, the information sent to them, right?
yeah, okay.
They already have it, so.
It's funny too, I mean, we have a neighboring municipality that wanted to borrow that sign, and my email back to them was, we could use 3 more. You know, we're placing it in places that we know are potential problems and data mining from it. But realistically, we could use more for our very large geographic area.
We could use more enforcement that's a little
Yes,
bit more presentable, or a little more
Yeah.
out in the open and a little more in the public's eye. As far as I'm concerned, that would help out a lot if we could get 1/4 of our police officers out there. That's my opinion.
You
Sorry
can see
about
them sometimes in Oxford.
Mhm.
So, and then the Foy Mount
Yes.
grow off, so is council sending a letter saying that you guys are supporting this?
Well, I was going to send an email saying that they could certainly do some fact finding.
Okay,
I think that all of council feels that, I heard from one person, it's legal now. Secondly, it's medical marijuana, and it would be a Health Canada guidelines.
Mhm.
The township really, I mean, we just follow what Health Canada says,
Creates jobs.
and it creates jobs.
Okay, and then the last thing is, so, like you guys got the peer review. And so it sounds like there's some issues that are gonna be followed up with, or?
There
where
are
we at
some
with that?
challenges, and we're just waiting on another report. I think that they just wanted to get us something, Brian really wanted something to be in for this particular meeting
Mhm.
so that we could go or no, but they are sending us more information.
Okay, so I guess no decision's been made on that, or?
Well, they've got to stop for now because there's, Brent can bring this tomorrow to that group, or the subcommittee, I guess. Just that there are deficiencies and that they've given us 3 recommendations. But more info to come.
Okay, that's it for me, thank you.
Thanks, Deb.
Okay. So we got what?
We have,
One close, 2 close then.
we've got 2 closed sessions, yeah. So let's take a quick break.
Right, yeah.
Is this off now?
No. Still on.
Somehow I have